Other thing is time and region. Time comes first and then region, right? So region is in a sense nested within time. What happens if I just want the opposite or the reverse? I take region and drag it and put it before time. And you can see that the thing has now changed. Okay. Now let me check total cost. Okay. And this is what I get. And you can understand this very easily. It's very easily understandable sort of a format. For example, 3187.16 is the sales, total sales figure from afternoon sales in Midwest. Okay. And if you look at 9618, which says Midwest total, it is the total, a sum total of afternoon, evening, and morning. Okay. Similarly, you can now think of gender, for example, and now each time, each value of the time will be further segregated into male and female, right? So that's how the thing works. Very easy, really, very intuitive. Okay. Fine. Let me take gender out because it gets a little cluttered if too many things are put in the rows box. Now, so this is, I think, what we had done last class. I think this is what we all had. This is what we had discussed last class. Now, let's do one thing. Let's take time and drag and drop it in columns. Okay. And as expected, you can see region now is in rows and time is in columns. Okay. You can also take region and drag it and drop it in columns. So as expected, now you have nested columns, right? So same figures, but now, of course, presented differently. Now what I can do is, now I can take time and put it back. Okay, so I can pivot this data set, and which is where the name comes from, pivot table. So you can see, you can pivot the arrangement. Now it's sort of pivots. This is where it gets its name from, pivot table, right? Very easy to manipulate data using a pivot table. Now, if you look at these figures, these are sums, of course. And when you learn functions, which is what we'll do towards the end of this session, you'll see that it's not impossible to do what the pivot table has done. It's after all sum, right? I'm sure. I mean, there are functions which can help us do it, but if you think about the convenience of it and how easy it is to do it, right? Plus the simplicity of it, then nothing compares to the convenience of a pivot table. So which is why any Excel user should know how to use pivot tables. So if you are using data in any form, you must know how to use or how to work with a pivot table, right? It's an absolute must. Good. But then at the same time, it's not something that needs to be taught really. It's something that sort of you need to explore by yourself. I'm just sort of doing what you can call hand-holding, just sort of guiding you so that you can take it up later on your own. Okay, good. So that's the pivot thing, right? So multiple fields now you cannot think of gender, right? And let's say day, and so on and so forth. So you can just keep clicking on these fields and looking at how the data is. So you can sort of drill down and drill up, correct, the data. So, but the other thing that we talked about yesterday is that if you don't want to uncheck boxes, you can also go click on this field and say remove field. That's also is another option of doing the same thing. Okay. Now, These drop downs, you have, if you have worked with Excel and if you have sorted data or filtered data, you know what this is, right? Even if you haven't, not very difficult to understand and work with this. If you click on this, see, these are the options that you have, right? So let's say if I'm asked, or if someone tells me that I'm looking only for data from northeast and south, so just like a filter, take out or uncheck Midwest and West, and there you get northeast and south. And of course, you have the filter icon which tells you that this data is filtered. And if you say time is just evening or just the evening, so this is what you get. Okay, so this is how the filter thing works. Now let's do one thing. Let's and you can take out the filter by simply selecting all and all that, right? So quite obvious. Now let's do one thing. Let us look at weekend data. So only Saturdays and Sundays. Can you do that? It'll take a few seconds maybe. I just want to look at data on weekends, during weekends. Quickly just do that. Just do it for weekends. Done, right? Done, right?
Can
All
you
of you done
repeat what
this?
we had to do? We had to get the data on weekends, right?
Yeah, only
The
weekends,
total
yes.
sales.
Total sales, yes. During weekends, Saturdays and Sundays. So this is data for all the days. I'm just looking for weekends. Done, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I think,
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
all of you have done this. All of you have done this. Yeah, right. So you may have done this. You may have checked day, right? And it get the row. And then you go to day and say Sunday and Saturday, right? And say, okay, that's it. Correct? It gives you weekend data. Weekend sales, total sales, region-wise sales, all sorts of data, right? Well, this works, of course, but the one small problem is that this Sunday and Saturday is being repeated, right? Again and again, the same thing. And there's no point in doing that. That's a waste of space, right? Unnecessary clutter, which you do not want. Because what we're looking at is actually a report, right?
Applying filters.
Yeah. So applying report, creating a report. So what we'll do now instead of this is we'll apply it as a filter, right? So we'll take day and put it in filters. And what happens is therefore day goes right at the top. And here you can of course manipulate. If you want to add, let's say Friday as well, you can manipulate it there. And that repetition of the days, that doesn't happen. Right?
Sir, how did we just get Saturdays and Sundays in the first place?
I'm sorry, what is the
How
question?
did we just get Saturday and Sunday in the first place?
The filter, the way we filtered data, the same way.
Okay.
The way we filtered data. Okay. So this is how you can use so this is the utility of the filter box. When you're looking at something which is more like a report, okay, then use the filter box. This is useful in that case. Okay. Good. Now let's look at charts, pivot charts. So you can draw pivot charts, which is wonderful charts, wonderful features that we have in pivot in Excel. What you can do is you can simply go to analyze. Okay, and again here, depending on the version that you're using, there could be a slight difference. Okay, 2010 onwards, even I guess 7 onwards, you'll get two extra tabs. But what I've seen is that over the last few upgrades or versions, the features are in different tabs, so it sometimes get confusing. Okay, I think there is one version where pivot chart is in design and not analyze. Okay, so if you do not find it in analyze, look at design. It's sure to be there. I mean, it's there, definitely there. So don't worry, but just search for it. So this is pivot chart. Okay, so you can simply click on pivot chart and this will open up, right? And of course, there you have all the different options. Correct. So we'll go with the one that's the default one, which is clustered column, and we'll say okay. Right now, the great thing about pivot chart is that you can filter data and all sorting and all that sorts of stuff on the chart itself, right? Which is this great, very, very useful, great thing about pivot tables. So for example, here day, you can simply go and say from here, remove Friday, right? So you're back to Saturdays and Sundays only. Say okay, right? And the data that you see changes automatically. It's not that you have to redraw the chart. It just refreshes, changes automatically. That's a great feature of pivot charts. Okay, you can also add, for example, let me add gender, right? And there you go. Chart adjust itself, right? So that it tries its best. I mean, if you keep increasing the fields, it will mess up one point, of course, but it tries its level best to ensure that what's presented is very clear and easy to understand. Okay, so you can also move the fields from rows to columns and all that, and again, as you can see, the chart will adjust. Okay, so you can try all of that and see. So just I'll wait for a minute or half, 2 minutes. Work with these charts, try different stuff, okay, and get comfortable with it. And after 2 minutes,